talk about the best. And just the love of the NFL. Mm-hmm. You're at the board, yeah. Especially when people ask, well, what are we doing here? Well, I'll tell you in a minute.
Photo there.
Yeah. No kidding. Yeah.
Oh, even better.
Right. There we go.
Yes.
It's here.
All right, good morning, everyone. Welcome. I'd like to call to order the Board of Commissioner meeting today, June 24. It's my turn to say the invocation, so please pray with me. Lord, thank you for blessing the people of Ottawa County. Please bless this board with your wisdom and grace. Lord, give us your heart of compassion. Give us your heart through which to hear. Give us your heart through which to see. Give us your heart through which to bring comfort. Give us your heart through which to bring hope. Give us your heart, Lord, through which to love. Give us your heart, Lord, so that your joy becomes our joy. And then through our joy, your joy will be known. Lord, give us your heart to unite this community on earth as it exists in heaven, as intended from the beginning. Lord, you said that blessed are the pure of heart, they'll see God. Help us to see God everywhere and always, and in everyone. Lord, give us your heart so that it's no longer us, but you working through us. Amen.
Amen.
Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Justin, it's all yours.
All right, Mr. Barry,
Here.
Mr. Joritsma,
Here.
Mr. Zastra,
Here.
Mr. Bonema,
Here.
Mr. Moss,
Here.
Mrs. Wenzel, Mr. Teeples,
Here.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Here.
Mr. Kyers,
Here.
Mr. Bruger,
Here.
and Mrs. Miedema.
Here.
Mr. Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Sheriff, it's all yours, please.
Good morning. We're going to have a couple people file in. That wall, the corrections deputies can be first.
Yeah. Wonder what's going on.
Sorry to take up some of your time. I know you guys have a lot of business today, but we've had a busy couple of months. So as has become tradition, when an award is given out to members of our agency, we would like to present them in front of the commission so that you know what the men and women of the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department are doing. So it's my privilege this morning to recognize several members of the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office whose recent actions exemplify the highest standards of public service, professionalism, and teamwork. Each of these awards reflects not only the individual commitment of these deputies, but also the strength of their leadership and collaboration in the field. We will begin with an incident that occurred on May 1st at the Grand Haven Courthouse. When a citizen arrived in severe medical distress, Deputy Tin Moncoon quickly recognized the emergency and called for help. Moments later, when the individual became unresponsive, Deputy Scott Fairfield and Derek Matthews joined him in performing CPR and using an AED. Thanks to their quick thinking and coordinated response, the individual survived and continues to recover. Their actions reflect the very best of our mission to protect and preserve life. It is my honor to present the Life Saving Award to the following deputies. Deputy Scott Fairfield. Congratulations, Scott. Proud of you. Deputy Tim Moncoon. Congratulations, Tim. And Deputy Derek Matthews. Alphabetical means something different. Next, we recognize a broader team effort, one that unfolded not in a single moment, but across a series of dangerous and high-risk events earlier in this year. Members of B Squad Knights responded to multiple incidents involving armed suspects, physical altercations, and volatile tactical situations. Through each challenge, these deputies worked together to recover firearms, safely apprehend violent offenders, and prevent further harm in our community. Unlike most awards that recognize a single action, the Sheriff's Commendation reflects consistent professionalism and resilience across multiple incidents in a short span of time. Whether involved in drone operations, canine tracking, direct response, or investigative follow-up, each deputy played a critical role in these successful outcomes. I am proud to present the Sheriff's Commendation Award to the following deputies. Deputy Matt Johnson. Deputy Forrest Sabo. Deputy Joe Roloff. Deputy Tyler Miller. Deputy Andrew Nagelkirk. Deputy James Root. Deputy Teresa Hartman. Deputy John Marr. And Deputy Stephen Garland. And finally, I would like to recognize a supervisor who guided this group through each of these events. During moments of uncertainty and elevated risk, his steady leadership, clear communication, and tactical judgment were vital, not only to the outcomes of each incident, but to the safety and confidence of the deputies under his command. His presence brought calm, his decisions brought results, and his leadership brought out the best in his team. It is my privilege to present the Sheriff's Commendation Award to Sergeant Chad Colson. Together, these deputies and their supervisor embody the courage, competence, and compassion that define the Ottawa County Sheriff's Office, and I'm proud to serve alongside them. Thank you for your time.
Sheriff, don't leave, please. We share your joy, and the county couldn't be in better hands. Thanks to you and your team and your staff and all your officers. Thank you on behalf of all of us in this county for keeping us safe and keeping us in the forefront of your protection. So thank you again.
Thank you, Chairman. All of that. It is.
Especially when there's all other stuff going on too.
Hi, my name is Commissioner Doug Ziostra, and a few days after state finals, I had asked Chair Tables if the board could take a few moments and honor all of our track and field champions here in Ottawa County. Track and field is a difficult sport. You start training in the freezing winter and finish 5 or 6 months later in the late spring heat. Meets are long, and the wait between events can be challenging, especially during those cold early season meets. You don't always get to honor you now. We also want to thank all the coaches, families, and friends. You provide the support these athletes need to excel. We are proud of all of you and the hard work you put in.
I'd rather look at you. The reason we're doing this is because people are listening online. So they're hearing this as well. I'd like to read a resolution that we're going to pass today for all of you. So we have signed plaqued resolutions for each one of you as well. Whereas on May 31, 2025, at the Michigan High School Athletic Association Division I and Division II Track and Field State Championships, student athletes from Ottawa County demonstrated exceptional skill, dedication, and sportsmanship by earning state championship titles. And whereas Luke Hammond of Grand Haven High School won the Division I boys 1600 meter race in 4:09:69. Helen Sachs of West Ottawa High School won the Division I girls 3200 meters in 10:16:56. Colette Weirtz of West Ottawa High School won the Division I girls 800 meter in 2:11:65. The West Ottawa girls 4x800 meter relay team, consisting of Emma Gunnett, Colette Wirtz, Ella Works, and Ava Porras, won the Division I title in 9:01:69. Elba Rodriguez Lima of Holland High School won the Division II girls high jump with a height of 5 feet 7 inches. And the Allendale High School boys 4x800 meters relay team, consisting of Killian Whalen, Mason Hill, Jackson Myers, and Ronnie Sylvia, won the Division II title in 7:47:50. And whereas these accomplishments bring pride and recognition to Ottawa County, its communities, their schools, coaches, families, and support systems. And now therefore be it resolved on this 24th day of June, 2025. The Ottawa County Board of Commissioners hereby recognizes and honors Luca Hamlin, Helen Sachs, Colette Works, Emma Gunnett, Ella Works, Ava Porras, Elba Rodriguez Lima, Killian Whalen, Mason Hill, Jackson Meyer, and Ronnie Silveria, individually and collectively for their dedication, hard work, and achievements by earning individual and relay event state championship titles at the 2025 MHSAA Track and Field State Championships. And be it further resolved that the board acknowledges the contributions of coaches, teachers, families, and school communities at Grand Haven, West Ottawa, Holland, and Allendale High School in supporting these student athletes in their pursuit of excellence. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution be presented to Grand Haven, West Ottawa, Holland, and Allendale High School, and to each recognized state champion from Ottawa County, Michigan, as token of our appreciation and pride, and that their names and achievements be recorded in the official records of Ottawa County. Congratulations, all of you. I'd now ask the commissioners of the different districts, beginning with Allendale, Sylvia Rhodey, to come forward, and the boys, the 4x800 media relay team, please come forward from Allendale. That would be Killian, Whalen, Mason Hill, Jackson Meyer, and Ronnie Sylvia. You guys could have a seat for a second. Just so you know, don't leave. As soon as we're done with this, we're gonna take a couple-minute break so that you can get photographs up behind us, okay? Grand Haven, Josh Berger, please come. Luke Hammond from Grand Haven High School won the Division I Boys 1600 at 4:09:69. Is Luke here? Come on forward, Luke.
And it happens to be Luca.
Luca, you're right.
And I only know that because this young man has played soccer with our son for many years, and he is an awesome athlete. So I'm proud to present this to you, Luca.
Jim. West Ottawa, Helen Sachs won the West Ottawa High School Division I 3,200 meter race in 10:16:56. And Colette Works won the Division I Girls 800 meter. And we also have the West Ottawa Girls 4x800 meter relay team. Emmett Gunnett, Colette again, Ella Works, and Ava Porras. Please come forward.
Maybe Helen will be in the building at some point.
Just for the record, Paul's daughter won the 800, 3,200. Oh,
Good job, Dan.
Yeah. Guess we'll get the other ones to West Ottawa later.
Okay.
All right. And then Doug at Holland, Elba Rodriguez Lima won the Division II girls high jump with a height of 5 feet 7 inches. Elba, are you here? Oh, there she is. Again, on behalf of the Ottawa County Board, congratulations. On behalf of Ottawa County, congratulations. Take a 5-minute recess. And if you'd like photographs taken on the plaque behind us, you're welcome to do that, okay? So come forward if you'd like. Thank you again. Okay, you guys ready to get going again? All right. Call the meeting back to order of June 24. Next thing on the agenda is public comment.
We got D. We changed it.
Oh, that's right. We
One more update.
have correspondence. Who wants to address that? Justin, you want to address that?
This one, it's
Senior.
not ours, so I'm not sure.
Is Amy Fleury
Here?
Yes. Amy. Could you come forth and explain what we're doing here?
No.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Pam Curtis. I am the CEO of Senior Resources of West Michigan. We're your area agency on aging for Ottawa, Muskegon, and Oceana counties. We've been around since 1974. And I'm going to turn this over to Amy Fleury, who's our Community Services Director and our planner. And you should have received a document about what we're hoping to do with older adult services for the next year. Amy?
Good morning. So there's an area agency on aging for every county in the US. They're over 700 strong, and we work in cooperation with our state unit on aging and our local government and the local aging network in Ottawa County. We work really closely with 4 Points and Evergreen Commons and GT Connections to make sure that older adults have services that they need to stay in their homes with the support that they require. So this plan outlines that, what we plan to do with those federal Older Americans Act dollars, the state Older Michiganians Act dollars, and how we plan to apply those to support our older adults in Ottawa County. So I think this plan was part of your packet, and I'm here to answer any questions if you have any.
So my conversation with Amy before this is that there's no action item required of the board. It's a notice requirement statutorily that the board has to be informed of this, of their plan. So that's what this is. But nothing?
No, no questions. Great job.
Thank you. Where's the applause? No, I'm just kidding. If there is any comments or questions after you review it further, I'm taking those until June 30th.
Okay.
And my information is in the
We
packet.
have a couple comments.
Yes. So just more questions. I was so happy to see this because I've always wondered, what are we doing, for our aging population? So, so I'm glad you're here sharing this. Can you tell us how many people are working with you on this, or is it just you? And then what kinds of things do you do?
Okay.
Maybe just share a little bit more.
Yeah. So how many people are working? There's the aging network. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, or even just within our county, like how many employees do you have working
We
within?
have,
Ottawa?
is it 95? 95 employees, and it's hard to say how many are actually working in Ottawa County, as we have people who go out to homes to do assessments. We have data, we have finance, we have to make the whole thing work. But I would say a lot. Oh, the network. Okay. Yeah. So we do have a lot of partners. Between the 3 counties, we partner with over 70 agencies to ensure that the needs of the older adults are being met. We go out into the homes, we do assessments, we talk with the caregivers to see if the caregivers need any support in the work that they're doing. In Michigan alone, over $18 billion of unpaid informal caregiving is provided each year. So we want to make sure those caregivers can continue the work that they do with the support and the knowledge they need to do that. We can provide services all the way from helping with baths to working with, as I mentioned, the caregivers, or providing respite at one of the adult day centers in the area.
Are there any gaps in services that you see here at this point?
Yes, as part of the area plan, the multi-year area plan, we go out into the communities, we talk with older adults, we talk with providers, we talk with caregivers and other stakeholders, and we ask them, what are the services that you need most to stay in your home? The top 2, as evidenced by those input sessions, call 211 data, et cetera, is lack of transportation and lack of affordable housing for older adults. Those are not areas where senior resources can affect a whole lot of change in. That's kind of a more systemic issue.
Okay. Is there anything else that you would like us to know that you're noticing, or Anything else you think we should know?
Well, there's always advocacy to do. Right now, we're looking at some of the federal things that are happening, and we're concerned about some of those funding sources. So we've just been working on a lot of advocacy. I think, Pam, do you send this board the Senior Advocates Coalition?
Yeah, Senior Advocates Coalition, but we don't.
Oh,
We don't inundate the commissioners.
we don't inundate you unless you ask to be, and we would be happy to do so in that case. But yeah, lots of advocacy happening for older adults right now.
Okay, I would personally love more communications just to
Great.
stay up to date on what your needs are, and especially if there's anything, on the state level you want to speak, communicating with legislators about.
As the older adult population kind of gets that plateau for the baby boomers, we're experiencing either stagnant or flat funding. Well, we know that costs and services are always rising. So we're kind of working with that too, making sure that people are spending their personal resources to the best way possible and for as long, so it can sustain them as long as possible.
Thank you.
What else, Allison?
Thank you for being here today.
Mhm.
And I appreciate the opportunity to turn in maybe some more questions by June 30, as we have a little bit longer of a time to review the information that was submitted to us yesterday. And I guess I would just encourage maybe our board leadership to consider the potential of having them come back more frequently instead of just once, maybe this calendar year. There might be better opportunity for us to little bit more hear about what's happening and if there's a way for us to partner alongside of you. So,
Absolutely.
just
Okay. So coming from the city of Grand Haven with 4 points, I just want to thank you for the work you're doing. I just heard a news report talking about isolation and our elderly population, and groups and organizations like 4 Points and what you're doing gets people out and gives them relationships, opportunity for relationships, gain life to live. And I just can't thank you enough for offering that opportunity to our residents in the city of Grand Haven, Spring Lake, and Ferrysburg. And coincidentally, I'm a builder. Ace Hardware is right next to 4 Points. Yesterday, I was in there picking up a few items, and a group, I don't know what they were doing, of elderly folks came out of 4 Points. Everybody was laughing. They had smiles on their face, and it looked like they had a wonderful time. So thank you for creating those opportunities.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So I've got a couple questions. So what's the age of the older population that you're talking that you serve? Where
So
does it begin?
We have a couple programs for the Older Americans Act that's outlined in the plan that you have at 60 plus. For grandparents raising grandchildren, it's 55 plus.
And how do you find the people that you ultimately serve? How do they find you?
We do marketing at senior fairs. We do marketing on our social medias. We talk with doctors' offices. We, of course, partner with the aging primary or aging organizations throughout our counties. We provide outreach through billboards, those types of things. But mostly we hear that people don't know that we're around until they need some service. And then they start asking, maybe friends or neighbors, and they hear about senior resources.
So coming to the board is a great opportunity because there's thousands of people that are watching this or will watch this online. So like Commissioner Meadham, I just said, will you please get it on your calendar to come visit us on a regular basis that you feel comfortable doing? Keep us apprised of what you're doing and let the public know. This is a resource for you, so please use it.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is public comment. Anyone like to address the board?
I was waiting for my number, Rachel.
Sorry.
Good morning, Commissioners. Becky Patrick, Allendale. I'm commenting this morning on the trip that 4 of you took to Washington, D.C. this week. The question on everyone's mind is, who paid for it? Because from all news accounts, as well as the social media descriptions of this trip, from those of you who went and from certain Michigan state reps, this event was by invitation only. It was also apparently partisan, which is why it was by invitation only. And it should be noted, the commissioners who attended were all just at a commissioner excuse me, association conference in Washington, D.C. about 8 weeks ago. So if the county did pay for it, the next question is why? People are rightfully concerned about the possibility that Ottawa County tax dollars were used to send elected officials to a partisan event not open to all in Washington, D.C. I'm not standing here expecting an answer to my question. My purpose in making public comment this morning is to do two things. First of all, it's to encourage individual commissioners to exercise some leadership and fiscal responsibility over yourselves. You were asked several times on your social media accounts if you paid for this trip or not, or if the county did, and we received no answer. Second, I want to encourage this body as a whole to put some criteria in place to address the concerns I just mentioned, or to find some other way to allocate funds for commissioners to do training and conferences in a manner that is fair to both the entire commission as well as to Ottawa County taxpayers. Thank you for your time.
Those are all the registered public comments we have,
You
Mr.
just got one, Sheila's here, so welcome.
Hi. I'd like to speak, oh, sorry, Karen Obitz, Spring Lake. I'd like to speak to the discussion item on your agenda regarding next steps for the administrator search. I was extremely disappointed that the search process sputtered and faltered to the point where only one candidate was available for an interview, but anticipated that the search firm the county had hired would continue to offer assistance in an effort to select additional candidates for interviews. Maybe I shouldn't have been so surprised to learn that Double Hall and the county severed its relationship following the board's interview of that lone candidate and decision to take a pause in the process. But I admit that if I didn't know there was so much at stake in getting this process right, I could have found that news almost comical. Comical in the sense that the plotline of the ongoing drama that has been the story of the county's need to find an administrator could be compared to that of a Shakespearean comedy. Let's hope that the title of one of those comedies, All's Well That Ends Well, proves to be prophetic. Because we all definitely need a happy ending to this most recent administrator search. I've spoken at this podium before about my concern for county staff, the negative impact on them due to the prior board's mishandling of so much of county business, beginning with the firing of the county administrator on the first day of their term in office, and replacing him with someone whose qualifications seemed largely to be based solely on ideological conformity with Ottawa Impact. Well, we all know how that relationship ended. It seems that in the end, Mr. Gibbs had enough managerial sense to know that ideologically inspired micromanagement of county administration does not translate into good governance. The refusal on the part of the 4 Ottawa Impact commissioners to go into closed session at the special board meeting to select candidates to advance to interview stage, paired with some of their more egregious partisan commentary, made it inescapably clear to everyone observing or participating in the process that their intent was to hamstring it. An effective search process for an administrator is one that sets partisan allegiances aside. As Commissioner Zylstra reminded us in a social media post following that special meeting, the board is responsible to ensure that its appointment of a candidate to the position of county administrator is, quote, based on merit, ensuring a professional and impartial administration as mandated, end quote. So, whatever steps in the search process this board decides to take, I urge you all to keep that injunction front and center. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? And you said there's nobody online?
There's one individual online.
Okay.
And Joseph McCarter, if you just unmute yourself and state your name and jurisdiction, you have 3 minutes.
Joseph Parnell McCarter, Georgetown Township, volunteer leader of the Save the Campbell effort. An elected county administrator with a home rule county charter is a common sense solution to major challenges Ottawa County faces. The political dynamics of Ottawa County are such that a county administrator appointed by the board is highly problematic. Candidates keep backing out, and now even the Double Hall search firm has backed out. With an elected county administrator, the Board of Commissioners could retain its policymaking and administrator oversight roles. The dynamics between the Board of Commissioners and the elected county administrator would be more constructive under this framework. Ottawa County is already used to an elected county sheriff county prosecutor, etc. An elected county administrator just extends that proven format. A home rule county charter comes with the other advantage of more local control, which is especially useful now with regarding the Campbell and electric utility services. MLive had an excellent recent article entitled, "Why Are Michigan's Residential Power Rates So High? This is Getting Outrageous." It shows how high Consumers Energy electric rates are compared with alternatives. And just recently, Consumers Energy has asked for one of the highest rate hikes in decades. For example, in contrast, Ottawa County's local controlled utilities have much lower electric rates. For example, the article cites how Consumers Energy charges 18.8 cents per kilowatt hour compared with Zealand's 10.4 cents per kilowatt hour. The townships with Consumers Energy will need the assistance of the Ottawa County Board to get local control of electric, and a home rule county charter is arguably the easiest means to facilitate such. We would also ask this board to pass a resolution that Consumers Energy forgoes seeking cost recovery to keep the Campbell operationally available, but instead offsets those costs by reducing its net zero expenditures and delaying its net zero implementation, as well as seriously exploring providing an AI data center with some of the electric provided by the Campbell, in order that residential electric rates can be reduced. This would respond to Consumers Energy current course to seek cost recovery from customers. Thanks for considering these proposals.
Thank you. Anyone else like to address the board? Okay, let's move on. Need a motion to approve the agenda, please.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Are you opposed?
Um,
Oh,
sorry, actually,
because I went pretty fast.
yeah. I actually wanted to amend
Yeah.
the agenda if possible, and to remove 7C and move it to 8B so that we can read the Veterans Month resolution.
I'll support that.
We
Sorry, I
can
didn't
still
jump.
approve the agenda and then
Can
handle
do
that
that.
in the next item.
Oh, I thought we did. I'm sorry.
Let's approve the agenda. All in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Okay, agenda is approved. Now Sylvia's motion to move the Veterans Resolution from the consent resolution to an action item, which would be moved to 8B. There's been a second.
I don't think
Do
we
you
need a
not need a
motion to
second?
move a consent resolution item, Mr. Chair.
Say it again.
I'll
You
make
don't
that
need-
motion.
You don't need a motion. It's under consent. You can request it be removed.
Just move it. Move it to 8B. We don't need a motion.
Correct.
There you go. Okay, so we're going to move that to 8B, okay?
Mr. Chair, I'd also like to pull items B and L.
Say that again.
I would like to remove item B and L and move those to action items.
B and L. Okay. All right, so let's move 7B to 8C. Of contracts. Oh, is the budget adjustment. Move it to 8D.
Because we approved the agenda as written and we just made changes afterwards, should we motion to approve the agenda as revised?
No, that was my error. So because we're pulling things from consent, I did that in the wrong spot.
No, I get that. I'm just, usually we pull those ahead of approving the agenda now that we've already.
No, it's,
We pull when we get to the item.
We get the item?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was,
Okay.
I was
All right.
confused. Yeah.
Okay, so now we're going to end up with action items A, B, C, and D in 8. Okay? We're all in agreement on that? Okay.
we'll make a motion to approve the consent resolutions.
Support. All in favor, say aye.
I think, do we need a roll?
Need to
call
take a
on
roll
that?
call vote.
So we're going to be voting now on the remaining consent resolution items. Okay? Here we go.
Correct. Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey, Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mr. Joritsma,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, now we're at action items. The first is the material management planning grant personnel request. This was a correction that we wanted to make from the planning commission 2 weeks ago. Need a motion, please.
I'll make the motion to approve the request from Public Health to convert
1.0 FTE benefited environmental public health technician to a full-time benefited environmental public health specialist in the AFSCME PH group at pay grade 8 at an increased cost of $12,607.20 to create a 1.0 FTE benefited environmental public health specialist in the AFSCME PH group at pay grade 8 at an increased cost of $108,018.85, and to create one part-time temporary limited benefit environmental public health technician in the limited benefit group at an increased cost of $23,677.12.
Second.
Any comments?
Thanks for reading that mouthful.
You're welcome. But my only comment is I support the work, and it's needed to fulfill our obligations to the county and the state, and sounds good.
I think we need a roll call, don't we, Justin?
Yes, sir. Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mrs. Miedema, Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Jortsma,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the approval of a resolution to name the month of July as Ottawa County Veterans Month. I need a motion.
So moved.
Okay, so Kendra, do you want to read the motion or the resolution? Would you mind?
Whereas Ottawa County is home to thousands of veterans who have honorably served in the United States Armed Forces, demonstrating courage, sacrifice, and commitment to the nation. And whereas the veterans of Ottawa County have made invaluable contributions to the community, state, and country, upholding the values of freedom, democracy, and service. And whereas it is vital to recognize and honor the bravery, sacrifices, and dedication of veterans, as well as to acknowledge the support of their families, dependents, and allies. And whereas Ottawa County is committed to providing resources, services, and opportunities that enhance the well-being of veterans, assisting them in successfully transitioning to civilian life and ensuring they receive the benefits they have earned. And whereas the designation of July as Ottawa County Veterans Month will provide an opportunity to express gratitude, raise awareness of veterans' issues, and encourage the community to actively support and engage with local veteran initiatives. And whereas throughout July, Ottawa County, in collaboration with local organizations, businesses, and community members, will host events and programs that recognize and celebrate the service of our veterans, including outreach efforts, educational programs, and commemorative ceremonies. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Ottawa County Board of Commissioners hereby declares July as Ottawa County Veterans Month and encourages all residents, businesses, and organizations to join in recognizing and supporting our veterans throughout the month and beyond. Be it further resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately and be made of the part of the official records of Ottawa County.
Yeah, just a quick comment. I want to thank you, Kendra, for reading that and being a part of the Veterans Affairs Committee. Jason and Jacob, who helped draft that resolution, thank you to both of you. This is a great thing that we're doing for our vets in Ottawa County. So thank you all.
Any other comments? Okay, let's vote. All in favor of the
Because it's a resolution, we also do a roll call because we have to physically put the names of the yeas and the nays on the resolution.
on the roll call. Okay, good. Yep.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mr. Joritsma,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
Mrs. Miedema,
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next thing on the action item is the, what was formerly 7B, post-execution ratification of contracts. Need a motion, please.
Motion to approve the contracts.
Okay, discussion, please.
Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So one of the reasons I pulled this item was just for a discussion on contract 6669 and contract 2665. I think I might have quoted the first one, 2669 and 2665. They're very similar. They both come from Community Action Agency. One was the subcontractor's Good Samaritan Ministries, and the other one is Community Action House. They're both for the expense of, or they're both for $11,047. And I requested one of the contracts yesterday, the one with Community Action House, before I noticed that they were actually both similar. and Regina kindly sent it to the entire board. I don't have a personal concern with the work within the contract, but upon receiving the contract, I do have a concern regarding the dates of the contract. According to the contract period is from 10/1 of 23 to 6/30 of 25. This means that the contract is just about complete. We have about 1 week left. And I guess I'm wondering why we're approving a contract after the work's been completed. We've had a similar problem with another contract in the recent past as well. And unless there's something that I'm missing, I just want to make it known that contracts need to be up on the upfront and not on the back end.
Well, welcome.
Morning. That's a good question.
Could you identify yourself? for the
Yeah.
record, please?
Jen Brzezowski with Ottawa County Community Action Agency. We are the fiduciary of this grant and the dollars come from MSHDA. What happened is the previous grant year, there were actually additional dollars that were left unspent. So they got reallocated throughout the state, and we were one of the awardees. Community Action House and Good Samaritan Ministries are not reimbursed for all the work that they do. So they use other funds to cover the work that they're doing. So rather than using some of their fundraised dollars or other dollars, they were able to essentially back bill. So some of the services that they couldn't bill for 100% in the grant year 23-24, they're billing for now. They're also allowed to bill for anything that they incurred between 10/1 of 24 through 6/30 of 2025. So they've already sent me invoices because it's already services that they've completed.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't really have any option. The money was coming in, and the continuum of care through Ottawa County. So the Lakeshore Housing Alliance determined that why turn away money that's coming to us to serve the homeless in the community. So we got that money out to them as quickly as we could.
I really appreciate the explanation because, yeah, the work itself,
Yeah,
no worries, but yeah, the back end of the dates. So I appreciate the explanation.
of course.
Yeah, and I shared a similar concern. So I think it would just be helpful to us as a board if it's a back date situation like that, if that's just noted somehow in
Yeah.
procedurally, so we know.
Okay. It was very uncommon. I don't think it's
Yeah.
happened before, so.
Yeah,
Thank
okay.
you for coming and explaining that.
Of course.
Okay, Justin.
Yes, sir. Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema, Mr. Berry,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey, Mr. Joritsma,
Yes.
and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, the next item is the 2025 budget adjustments. I need a motion.
Motion to approve the budget adjustments.
Support.
Okay, discussion. Allison.
I make a motion to pull item 08-787 from this agenda item and create a separate action item. And then we could vote on, from my perspective, all the other items.
Support.
Could you repeat the number, please, Commissioner?
08-787.
Can you, as we look it up, can you explain what that one's about? Maybe Allison?
That one was regarding the Crockery Lake legal costs.
Oh.
I just looked at Regina to see if she can, I know, pressure to put that up on the screen. My computer is not functioning at the moment,
I could read it for you real quick.
or if you got it.
It just,
Jacob's got it here too.
yeah, okay, thanks.
Give me a moment, just a moment to read it, be great.
It's the second one listed.
Got it.
Yep.
20,000.
So there's a motion on the table to pull 08787 from the budget adjustment as a separate action item.
And this was this on the finance or the planning meeting 2 weeks ago?
These
I
are,
actually had asked for that, but we had a death from the litigation counsel in his family, and so I didn't have the answers received to the questions I asked.
Okay, got it.
No discussion?
Was there a second?
I second
Yeah,
that
there was a second.
motion.
There was a second. Okay, all in favor of removing contract item 08787 from the budget adjustment as a separate action item? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Then we go back to the original motion to approve the budget adjustments. All in favor, say, oh, we did a roll call, excuse me.
Mr. Bruker,
Yes.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mr. Moss,
Yes.
Mr. Jortsma,
Yes.
Mrs. Rhodey,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel, and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right, now we're back to the Crocker Lake matter 08787. Allison, you want to?
Yeah, I just want to, we've discussed this item before. We are now being asked to pay 28,000 for contingency for legal services related to the Crocker Lake agreement. To this date, there's been about 20,000 that has been spent in correspondence. It looks like while they don't have an understanding what the cap could possibly be, there might be another $10,000 to $12,000 coming. From my perspective, I don't support the legal costs associated with this item. The Board of Commissioners who were elected to serve from 2023 through 2024 approved spending money on water restoration efforts in this manner. And I don't support the ongoing usurping of the board leadership from the 2025 through 2028 leadership to usurp the past duly elected board's vote. And so I will be a no vote on this or any other money associated with fighting against. I believe that we should be putting our money into actually restoring water efforts versus trying to fight something that a past board voted on. So.
Josh?
Yeah, I now I know exactly why you pulled this, Allison, and it makes perfect sense. So I appreciate you doing that, and I understand your no vote on this. For me, I think we've discussed this previously, but I will say I'll be voting yes on this because I think it's a worthwhile effort. I think I'll leave it at that.
Anyone else?
I would just support what Allison has said. I agree that we should not be spending money on legal expenses in this case. We should actually be spending money on restoring water.
Anyone else? This is a litigation that we approved as a board. These are litigation costs. You can't really pull them back now. We're in the midst of it. The court hasn't set the hearing date, as to my knowledge. But we are here. It's here, so it's coming. I think the briefs have been filed. I think it just hasn't been set. So.
With all due respect, I would request that we receive information on any additional costs before this board, before it comes back for another vote for more money to be spent. We're already at 28,000, and I don't know what that cap is going to be. And I think this board has the duty to be able to take votes on how much money that's going to continue to cost. So I just make that request.
All right, so the question is the approval of the contract 08787 on Crocker Lake matter. All in favor? Oh, you need to do a roll call again, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Jortsma,
Yes.
Mr. Barry,
Yes.
Mrs. Medema,
No.
Mr. Moss,
No.
Mrs. Rhodey,
No.
Mr. Zylstra,
Yes.
Mrs. Wenzel, Mr. Kyers.
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. Now we're at the committee reports, the MSU Extension annual report. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for the time this morning. Okay, thank you. My name is James Kelly. I am the interim district director serving Ottawa County. I've been in that role for 7 weeks and I have 1 more week left. I'm happy to announce and share with you that Kai Gritter has been confirmed as the next district director, and excited for Ottawa County because Kai lives in Ottawa County. She's been serving with Extension for about 7 years. She was unable to meet this morning. She has 7 counties that she's providing some leadership to in Southwest Michigan at the moment. So she will come in, I think, next month and introduce herself. So with that, I've had multiple reminders, which I appreciate that we have 10 minutes for these presentations. So I'll move very quickly through the material in front of you and again, try and save a little bit of that time for some questions. I think it's important to start with just a reminder of our mission. I've been fortunate to work for some very strong mission-driven organizations over my career. And the university, again, is driven by the need in extension to help people improve their lives, families, and businesses and communities by connecting them to the vast knowledge and educational resources of MSU. So we are the outreach arm of Michigan State University. I think it's also important to recognize the longevity of the relationship. So we've had 109 years of formal relationship with Ottawa County. So it was back in 1916 when Ottawa County first contracted with Extension. Not sure if that's a record partnership for the county, but it would be interesting to know where we stand. In terms of the annual report, and I apologize for those who are trying to read that on the monitors, but I've just taken the written report that you have in front of you, commissioners, and I'm just going to highlight a few bits and pieces from that presentation, add some commentary as we flip through this relatively quickly. Coalitions and partnerships are essential to our success as an organization, and in Ottawa County, there are 43 formal coalitions and partnerships that allow us to meet the needs of the community. 544 programs were attended by participants from Ottawa County, and that's a mix of in-county programming and online programming. I think about 95 of those programs were offered on site in Ottawa County, so a significant number of programs that your residents are participating in through MSU Extension. Page 3, just so you can keep up, I'll share which page I'm kind of referencing. One of my goals this morning was to just perhaps broaden your perception of what services we do actually provide through MSU Extension. So again, I'm going to highlight just a few bits and pieces. We sell soil tests downstairs. If you're a gardener and you're looking for some assistance in your lawn care or any other area, we sold 141 soil tests through our office downstairs. Again, we appreciate the space that's provided by Ottawa County. It's very important to us to have a physical presence in each of the counties we serve. Financial literacy is an area where perhaps some of you are not aware that we are doing a lot in terms of providing education on money management, foreclosure prevention, home buying, retirement planning. So there's a note about the programming that Ottawa County residents participate in related to financial literacy. Of course, a large part of our operation in Ottawa County is focused on our traditional ag education and ag resources. And the Virtual Coffee Break podcast is again, a great example of an attempt to reach a specific set of the community members through a creative outlet. So Martin Mangual, who's been our dairy educator, reached about 1,200 folks through his Virtual Coffee Break podcast. So if you're a podcaster, look for that one. Page 4, 680 participants in county ag programs, and these can be really significant interactions. When we're providing one-on-one consultations to farms on the latest research coming out of the university, it can have a direct impact immediately on different processes that assure the success of those operations. Beekeeping programs, which for those who don't know, again, pollination in the world of agriculture is just an essential part of the process, which is under threat in many states. Bees are shipped from state to state right now to cover some of the stress that's in the bee population. So we're happy to support our local community beekeepers as well as those commercially to make sure that we're maintaining that resource. 216 Ottawa County residents attended the Great Lakes Expo. What's that? That's the largest fruit and vegetable expo in the Midwest, held down in Kent County. It is a massive 3-day event, filling up the Van Andel conference space, the Amway conference space. So if you're wanting to kind of open your eyes to the wonders of technology and research and everything involved in terms of cutting edge ag, stop down to Kent County in December and stop in at the Great Lakes Expo. Apple Education, I was fortunate to go on a Kent County tour of their ag business about a month ago while I was covering Kent County. They did drift into Ottawa County quite often, I'll share, as they toured the Ridge facility and, of course, the apple production down there. So we have staff housed outside of Ottawa County that are spending a lot of time supporting the apple growers and the tree fruit growers in Ottawa County. I hope some of you know Charles Gould. I'm on page 5 now. Charles is beyond a manure management expert, which always makes me smile as I use that title. He is an expert in many areas of agriculture. And one of the things fascinating right now, there's a lot of stress in terms of farmland preservation, and solar projects. And Charles is working with some of our researchers on campus to look at the dual use possibilities, having solar panels mounted to the top of those fruit tree stakes as an example of an area that of a process that would allow for both needs to be met in energy generation and not taking that farmland away. Small fruit education, Carlos Garcia also sits downstairs. So he is our small fruit educator who's been with us for many years. What Carlos is able to do also, which is very valuable, is help us to better serve the Hispanic community, making sure that, again, we are reaching the maximum number of community members as possible. MSU Extension Summer Field Day is a highlight on page 6 of the work of Bill Lindbergh. We have a Christmas tree expert who sits in Ottawa County but is actually serving statewide. Happens to be married to someone who also sits in the office downstairs, whose name is Heidi Lindbergh. So Heidi is our greenhouse expert. As many of you know, in Ottawa County, we have some extensive, massive greenhouse businesses. And again, Heidi is bringing the research that we do on campus out to those operations to maximize their opportunity to succeed. I'm probably getting long here. 4-H, a quick note about 4-H as our primary youth program. 490 youth served through our 4-H program. For those who don't know, in the state of Michigan, that's about 100,000 youth who are involved in 4-H programming. A lot of you will associate that with county fairs, which is good. We have 108 volunteers in Ottawa County. And the volunteer population is really essential to that success. So if you know a 4-H volunteer adult, thank them for their service. Morgan Mills is our 4-H program coordinator. She's relatively new to the program, but she's seeing some good growth in her first year, and we expect that to continue. Page 8 give you some examples of some of the programming opportunities that come with 4-H, including some national and state opportunities. 4-H just held their annual Exploration Days event, which brought about 1,000 youth to campus last week to explore all kinds of topics. Community public health and nutrition programming on page 9, a very important part of our outreach. That is sadly at risk as we are maneuvering through the potential for federal cuts. The SNAP educations, Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that is being proposed to be cut entirely. So that is very concerning to us. That will reduce some of our community outreach if that does in fact happen. I'll leave that at that. Page 10, it's a long report in Ottawa County. So more in terms of the public health, we've done some work with seniors. We would do work with veterans in terms of public health, stress reduction, health and mindfulness, mental health first aid for teens. So it's, again, not an area that a lot of people think of Extension in terms of our outreach, but we have many, many data-driven programs that are having a significant impact that we deliver in Ottawa County. The product center, getting towards the end here, the product center is a good piece to know about. Not many know that we operate a very successful and impactful resource on campus, but has outreach arms in the community to help entrepreneurs navigate from concept to development and beyond. So product development, if you have that famous grandma's salsa recipe that people tell you should market that and sell that at some point, we can actually give you the steps and support to both develop the recipe, make sure it meets all the standards, look at the packaging, and help you launch that. What I love about this report, one of the pieces I love, is the recognition of one of your own or a couple of your community members out of Hudsonville. The Protein Pints gentlemen, I'm not sure if you know the Protein Pints gentlemen, but they were one of our clients. 2 young guys who were attending MSU and connected with our product center and have developed a protein ice cream basically that you can now buy in Kroger and Meijer and many other stores. So they are a definite success story for your county. Veterans outreach on page 12. We continue to serve veterans. Part of that is through SNAP education as well. There's a bit of a stigma for veterans in terms of using food assistance, which we've tried to remove. That is under threat through funding as well, as is the next program, which is the fishery program. Dan O'Keefe is part of the Michigan Sea Grant, which is a national program. You might notice or know that in some states, sea grant funding has been cut entirely already. So we're continuing to monitor that. In, of course, Michigan and Ottawa County, the commercial fishing industry is an important piece that not many people necessarily think about on a daily basis. So just in wrapping up, you have a list of the staff on page 13. There's about 14 folks, I think, that work out of the office downstairs. And they are a very talented team. There are many others who come in from other counties to support the operation here. And I actually just included, by chance, as we speak, there is a program happening in Holland today, which is called Agra Ability, which is designed to help people who are aging, who have physical limitations, designed to help them understand what kind of adaptive tools they can use to allow them to continue to farm and be involved in the ag industry. So that's just a great example of, again, outside resources that the university is bringing in. So in closing, I would just share that our success is really tied to community engagement, and our community engagement is really tied to input from key leaders like yourself. We are a resource that needs to be drawn upon. We rely on you to bring issues to us that you think perhaps need a little bit of a boost. At least draw us into the conversation if you think something is stalling or you think there may be some additional resources that would be helpful. That is when good things happen for MSU Extension and for the county. If you're not already following the MSU Extension District 7 Facebook page, I would encourage you to do that, as there is a constant stream of programming that's being pushed out into Ottawa County. So that's a great way to stay in touch with what we're doing. And finally, I'm going to leave a pile of MSU Extension strategic planning, or our actual strategic plan. In 2024, we spent an extensive amount of time collecting community input, putting together our strategic plan. We're at the stage now of actually implementing targeted committee groups that are working on each of the initiatives. So again, I'm pleased to work for an organization that has a strategic plan, not just to set on the shelf, but to put into action. So I'm not sure how I did, but thanks for your time. I'm happy to take any questions now after the meeting, and also look forward to your engagement with Kai Gritter in the future.
James, you started to say, I'm going to leave a pile. And you had been talking about manure previously, so I wondered where you were going with that.
Well, yes.
Sorry.
Thank you for that comment.
There's probably some more serious comments and questions here, but that's where I'm at.
Kendra?
Just for public knowledge, you were talking about the soil tests. I wondered where specifically in the building those can be picked up. I'm sorry. The soil tests, I wondered where specifically in the building they can be picked up.
So they're sold out office if you haven't stopped in. Lower level, I'm not sure how you define that in this building, but lower level that way a little bit.
And what was the cost for those?
I think there's a residential version which goes for $25.
Okay, thank you.
Allison.
Morning. Thanks for being here today, James. I had another follow-up question on the soil test and then more of a broader question. Do you know about the population that tends to pick up soil tests? Is it more in the ag business, or is it just residential, or not sure?
Yeah, what we're selling generally from our county offices is a residential soil test kit. So it's those folks who are looking to kind of test the soil composition of the vegetable garden or their lawns, whatever it might be. We do have a commercial kit available as well, so that's not included in these numbers. That's a different piece that goes out to commercial vendors, professionals in the industry.
Okay, great. And then do you have any idea, you had talked about how long the partnership had been with our county. Do you have any idea about maybe some of the history about where MSU has been in the past and what the focus was, and kind of where it's progressed from maybe years ago to maybe what it now includes? And then even looking into the future, like, do you see some extra things that you possibly plan on looking at, or some things that you maybe plan on letting someone else take on? Any feedback on that?
It's a long question.
I know. I hope you followed.
108-year history. Where should we start? It was 1916. No, I think that, again, if I'm understanding your question, we do have some historical documentation of what our efforts are. I'm not sure if you're asking Ottawa County specific in terms of what was happening back in 1916, but it is a good challenge to kind of present a little bit of that story, and ideally specific to Ottawa County, I'm guessing would be more of interest to you. The future is really the strategic plan. And again, without going into detail, you'll see a very clear map of what we believe are the key initiatives right now. Statewide view as opposed to Ottawa County, but of course, I think it's pretty well represented for all counties in the state of Michigan. So yeah, I'll have to kind of think about that challenge a little bit more in terms of documenting the change in focus over the years.
How does MSU Extension as a whole determine what is its lane in purview versus maybe having somebody else do that type of work?
That's a great question. I think that the key when we're not out to compete with any entity, we really look to be drawn into the community to meet a need or to fill a gap. And, we recognize the strength of good partnerships. So often we're working very closely with USDA or Forestry Department or any other agency that kind of sees that we would bring value through some of our specialization. So often a lot of our interaction is through partners in the community or by people like me attending community initiative discussions, and something will come up. We're heavily involved in housing discussions in some communities, but in others we're not at all, and that's good. We're not looking to kind of post our impression on anyone in this unless they're looking for that input.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of people's misperception, at least when they're new to hearing about MSU, that it is strictly the ag sector. And while that is a large part, I believe, of your work here in our county, there's a lot of other resources in other areas that you have delved into as you presented today. So I think that just kind of falls into a little bit more of my understanding of trying to understand where we came from and how it kind of evolved and how MSU makes the decisions that it makes to what to focus on.
Yeah, I'll take a note of that and see what we might be able to put together. But again, it's driven by Ottawa County is obviously well supported, I would say, by many agencies and many resources, as opposed to when I travel up to Lake County, which has fewer agencies and fewer dollars, and we get drawn into more community discussions and in some ways play a more active role in more areas up there.
Sure. Is it tailored county to county based on what a county is looking for, or more the region?
Well, again, I think there's overlap there, but yes, definitely it's tailored. It's not a one size fits all approach, and it's community driven. So it's where are the needs and where are the gaps and what can we do to help with those?
Okay, thank you.
I got one. First, I just want to say thank you for being a catalyst, working with counties and with our community to leverage you guys' 100 years of experience to help us out with a lot of needs. So thank you. In particular, I'm going to focus on a couple that you mentioned: foreclosure prevention. Thanks for working with our clerk's office. Bees, and then I'll come back to that one because I have a question on that one. And then I want to highlight something you said that struck me was the agriculture community working in partnership for energy resources to find creative ways to incorporate panels in between or amongst our crops as a way to hybrid that rather than a blanket get rid of crops and replace them with solar panels or whatever it is. I applaud you guys for looking for creative ways.
Yeah, I'm excited by that too. And I think it's early days in some of that research, but Charles is working with hope I get this right, I think a Hope graduate.
Go Dutch. Sorry.
I hope that's a good thing in this room. But a special project too in investigating cows with little monitors or little transmitters that would, this is inspired by Meyer, when you walk down the freezer department and lights all flash on one by one. So to be able to have livestock, larger livestock generally are not seen as good for solar fields, of course, because of the damage, but to have a mechanization unit that would actually raise or adjust the panel as an animal approaches and then place it back down later. So early days, it sounds very expensive to me, not very cost effective, but I mean, these are the concepts that I think are going to be important to sustain both needs.
Oh, that's great. Well, and I think I want to highlight that this is coming from the ag community. I don't like anything to be forced on anyone. So when the ag community is coming forward with ideas and ways that are creative solutions, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So that's great. And then the last one, I'll come back to bees. You mentioned the number of bees that are beekeepers or whatever that have come up somewhere in the hundreds. How are we doing on par with our peers? I love a friendly competition, maybe in other states. You know, is Ottawa County, is West Michigan, is Michigan kicking butt on bringing bees in because they're such a vital part of our ecosystem? Or are we falling behind others? You may not have that answer today, but I'd love to know that.
In terms of bringing bees in, I honestly can't speak to the specifics of Ottawa County. What I do know is that I believe it's the Michigan bees that are being shipped out to California to help with the almond industry, for example. So let's just take some credit there for impacting the world.
That's what I was looking for. That's
Excellent.
awesome. Yeah.
And I just want to say a big thank you to MSU. Being a dairy farmer for 40 years, I worked with MSU a lot. I worked with Charles Gu a lot. He helped us with waste management on our farm. He is an excellent guy to work with. My kids were in 4-H for over 20 years, so your 4-H program is second to none. And it's really cool that we can house you here in Ottawa County. I mean, that's a plus for the agriculture in Ottawa County, and it's a privilege to work with, and hope you continue to work here. So thank you very much.
Appreciate your support.
Joe?
Yeah, I appreciate the resources that you bring to Ottawa County and MSU. In case I missed it, or maybe if you didn't mention it, so where will you be going next?
Back to my district, which I never left, but I have 5 counties that I serve to the north. So Muskegon County up into Lake County and Mason, Oceana, Newaygo. I'm a Ottawa County resident though, so I am pleased to provide some coverage when there's a need.
Well, thank you for doing that. Another suggestion I would have is as Kai comes and introduces herself, it'd be great to have, more updates, even if it's quarterly or twice a year. There's so much content.
I agree. I am actually, so I'll be involved as a kind of a non-official mentor in Kai's world. And in my 5 counties, I provide a written quarterly update to the board, which is really well received. Plus there are some additional communication. So I think there's some room for improvement in terms of the delivery of information.
It's opportunity. Yeah, there's so many questions and things like that. It's very, very good. One other question I had, if you have any information on it, there's been a lot of discussion around the state amongst state universities related to DEI. Do you know if University of Michigan has abolished their DEI department? Do you know if there's been any discussions internally with MSU around the same things?
Oh, absolutely. I can guarantee there's been discussion. Am I involved with them? No. There's a higher level leadership, of course, in terms of our college dean and the president. So yes, discussions happen.
Do you know if there's any updates on how they're going to handle it or respond to the executive orders? Are they going to end race-based decision-making or things like that?
Again, I'm not really the person who's
okay.
focused on that, other than we are complying with the executive orders. So we've had a team that's already looked at what we do as a university and responded to the administration. So we feel that we are in compliance at this point.
Thanks.
I'd like to thank you too for coming. It just fascinates me, all the things you guys are involved in. And as a hobbyist beekeeper, to answer Josh's question, my bees are going crazy right now. I had a new hive last week, and the other hives I did add more boxes. I mean, they're just amazing what's happening. So it's pretty cool. And so all the work you guys are doing with that and everything else, it's just fantastic. So your presentation was great.
Thank you.
I wish you the best, and thanks for stepping in when you did.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, the next committee report deals with the 20th Circuit Court, the probate court. Susan? Okay.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to be here to talk to you a little bit about our judicial branch of government here in Ottawa County, and specifically that of the circuit and probate courts. Our kind of theme in the last year has been embracing change. I'm going to touch on a few of those as we go through this presentation about how we've been going on this year. in 1 minute. Well, and the first slide does kind of illustrate our two courthouses. We have one in Grand Haven, the Ottawa County Courthouse, which is nearly 20 years old. We're coming up on that soon, as well as our brand new courthouse, the Family Justice Center across the parking lot. And that one obviously just opened. That's one of our major changes that we've had to face this year. So these are our elected officials of the circuit court. We are led by those judges, and our main job as employees of the circuit and probate court is to support those judges in their duties. Our first on the left upper is Judge John Van Allsburg. He is our chief circuit judge, so he makes the administrative decisions, and I support him in that. He is part of our family division, so he hears divorce cases, custody, and whatnot, as well as our business court judge, and he's had to go through special training to be able to hear those particular types of cases. We also have two other judges in the family division. Those are the other two on the top, Judge Engel and Judge Kraus, and they're located out in the Family Justice Center. And then our two judges on the bottom are our trial division judges, Judge Hulsing and Judge Miedema. They hear criminal cases as well as civil cases. Judge Hulsing does our appellate docket from coming up from district court or from various agencies, and Judge Miedema handles our non-domestic PPO docket. So we keep them very busy. And why is that not working now? Nope, that's, technology is going to be not my friend today, I can tell. There we go. All right, so then we have our probate court, which is the smallest of the three trial courts here in Ottawa County, as we only have one judge, and that was Judge Fyan. One of our other changes we had to address this year was that he chose to retire after a very lengthy career of 36 years as our probate court judge. So his term ended on December 31st. We did experience an election, though, over that last year, and Judge Dahlman has now taken that seat, and he's doing a fantastic job. So we're enjoying working with him, and we'll do so for at least the next 6 years. So our court is rather large. We have over 150 employees. We have separated that into 4 different divisions. So as the court administrator, I oversee a leadership team of these 4 individuals that you see next to me on this slide. Our largest of our divisions is our juvenile division. That's Tom Laddig is our juvenile court director. Part of the reason it's so large is because that also encompasses our juvenile detention center across the street. Our friend of the court is led by Janelle Challa. Our trial division is led by Cheryl Zorn, and our probate court is led by Johanna Wallace, our probate register. So first, to address the trial division, I have a picture there of our employees from our last annual meeting. They are supporting the judges in the civil and criminal and business court docket, and they do a lot of scheduling. They have a lot of different parts and pieces to their work. And they're located both between the Family Justice Center and Grand Haven. So our trial division case statistics, we were pretty consistent within the last 2 years. We only actually went down 3 cases. So last year we had 1,293 cases, and this year we hit 1,290. So pretty stable in the trial division. Part of the trial division that we're very proud of is our recovery court. This is a sobriety court helping people who have multiple convictions for drugs or drunk driving issues. And we've been completely grant funded in that program. Judge Fyan was our recovery court judge for the entire 20 of those years, and we've helped a significant number of people in the population to overcome those addictions. So it's something we're very proud of. Judge Dahlman has now taken over the recovery court, and he's doing a great job there. So then our huge change, the Family Justice Center. It took a couple years to build it, but we're very happy that we're now in that. The ribbon cutting was in May, and I do have to give a special thank you to all of the county for supporting this new courthouse, but especially to our building authority who oversaw that long building period and had to deal with me coming asking for more things frequently. And Gary Rosema was our chair, so he's continuing to serve. I also recognize that Ron France was on our building authority with Terry Blanchard and Amanda Price, who saw the whole project through. So the Family Justice Center now handles our entire family division and has most of Friend of the Court as well as our juvenile services offices there. And they hear a large segment of what our circuit court caseload is. So they're doing all of these different things that you see here on this screen. Our caseload statistics for the family division, we are going up on our family division cases. We had about a 20% increase in the caseload from last year to 2024. And it's not looking to slow down. So that is definitely the largest part of our caseload. And one thing that the judges always want me to remind you of is that these cases are getting more complex as we go. A lot of different issues are coming up, and it does take a significant amount of their time. One thing that has also gone up that we're trying to work on is juvenile delinquency cases. That has statewide, the numbers are up, and it's not just because we have raised our age to 18. It seems that there are being more crimes committed by juveniles, and unfortunately, there are also more serious crimes. So that's taken up a considerable amount of our time as well. We are down in adoptions, which, you know, it makes you wonder at first that, oh no, we're not getting kids adopted. But I think it's actually a part and parcel to the fact that we're trying to keep children in their homes. We're trying to reunite the families. We're not necessarily having as many adoptable children out there. So it really is a good sign. That's because it's also our neglect abuse caseload is down as well. Our personal protection orders, we still get quite a few of those. And we also added the extreme risk protection orders in the last year. So that was another change, was adding those. Judge Engel bears the honor of having our very first ERPO in the state of Michigan. So we definitely learned from that process. We had prepared as much as possible, but it's always the case that you never know what you're going to get until you get it. So we've worked our way through that, and we've had a few more, but generally we don't get as many of those as some other counties from what I've been told. So. Our Friend of the Court does a lot of work on paternity establishment as well as custody investigations and child support. And they work very hard to maximize our reimbursement dollars that we get back from the federal government for the work that they do. So every time the county general fund pays $1, we generally get 66 cents back from the federal government because we have tried to do the best we very much can to maximize those reimbursements. And there's a picture. The Friend of the Court is our second largest division after juvenile services. We also have put together some different programs, such as our alternative contempt track, to help people who owe child support. We try to help work with them to get new jobs. And if they've got some other medical issues, to help them seek treatment. So that's something that we're working with to try. We don't have necessarily the number of employees to support our entire child support population at this point, but we're trying to look at different ways that we can help people meet those obligations. Our Legal Self-Help Center, we have 2 locations, one in the Family Justice Center and one in the Grand Haven Courthouse. We only have 3 employees, so it can be a challenge at times, but it's a service that we need to provide to our constituents because not everyone went to law school. Not everyone understands how to fill out those forms to be able to get to be heard by the judge and to have the judge be able to move effectively and efficiently through their case. So the Legal Self-Help Center has created several different packets that walk people through various different legal issues, such as divorce or custody and whatnot, so that if they don't want to go out and hire an attorney or if they're not able to, they can go through that packet to find the forms that they need. And then the Legal Self-Help Center offers to review those forms for completeness so that the people can then go to court. And this has provided a great service, not only to the community, but to our judges as well, because they know when a person is coming in with those legal self-help center documents that they're going to be able to move through the case. They don't necessarily have to adjourn and tell the people, no, you didn't do that right. You need to go back and figure it out, because our judges can't provide legal advice from the bench. So they can't tell someone, you need to fill out form 36A necessarily, and you need to put this information into it. But the Legal Self-Help Center is able to help people kind of navigate the court system. And it's really being used by a great segment of our population. All right, so juvenile court services, it's not just the detention center across the street. We also provide a lot of therapeutic interventions for children who are coming before the court. And we try to, work with the children, work with the families to build skills so that they're not going to be repeatedly coming before the court. And this is actually something that we work very carefully on, because it's also been proven that although it is helpful to offer services, if we offer too many services, it actually backfires and it's more likely that the child will reoffend. So we have to be very careful at what level of therapeutic interventions that we offer. And our staff has worked very carefully to try to determine that. We use several different assessments to determine what level of risk a child may be at, and then offer the appropriate services. One of the things that we do offer is the Juvenile Justice Institute. We graduated 2 kids last year from high school by offering those services because they had been removed from their home district, but we were able to work with them to offer that. And we offer schooling for several children in that situation. And one of our fun things that we like to do is do a staff versus student basketball game. So we do that a few times a year. Then on to our smallest division, which is our probate court. Generally, the probate court docket is fairly, we actually went down last year in terms of estates and trusts, but that was more than made up for by the numbers of guardianship cases, conservatorship cases, and mental commitment cases. So it's continuing to rise, and we have 15,000 open cases at any given time that the probate court is working on. So their big change that they had to deal with this year was that they moved from our old West Olive Courthouse to the Grand Haven Courthouse. Definitely a net benefit for them to be in Grand Haven. And that's something that, actually technically the probate court is supposed to be in the county seat. So we've now moved them back there, and we're very excited to have them there. So that is generally my presentation from 2024, but I would be remiss if I did not also thank a lot of our county partners who help us all the time. Obviously, this board, fiscal services, administration, the sheriff's office providing so much security for us is greatly appreciated. We work very closely with Justin's staff in the clerk's office and would not be able to do what we do without them. And facilities maintenance, of course, does a great job of keeping our courthouses and our other buildings up to snuff, so to speak. And of course, human resources. So we're very, very grateful for all of those services that the county provides for us.
Well, thank you very much. Comments? Jake?
Susan,
Yes.
that's a lot. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you for the update. I just wanted to commend you. As I look through your reports, I always look at the fiscal responsibility of your department and what's going on. And I see lots of examples to thank you for. I'll highlight one, the juvenile court funding. To look at what you budgeted compared to what you spent, you came under budget by almost $900,000. You're prioritizing the taxpayers' dollars. You're not spending it just because it's available to you. I really appreciate your focus and, you celebrating that fact. So I want to join you in celebrating that things went well and we stayed under budget. That's a good thing.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe?
Yeah, just a question. And thanks for being here. I always enjoy listening to your reports. So I foresee receiving some questions on the ERPOs and wondered if you could just speak to them, any interesting information, anything helpful, perhaps who can file, what the duration are, and if the court has learned anything through the process, as this is brand new state law.
Certainly. So with our very first ERPO, we learned that we needed to bring the sheriff's department in sooner into the decision making, well, not decision making, but into the process so that they had more knowledge of what was going on. An extreme risk protection order is basically, in my view, kind of to separate an individual from guns, basically, because it's being alleged that they are either a danger to others or to themselves because they have these firearms. So in doing that, if the judge were to grant that ERPO, we're then asking law enforcement individuals to go out and to separate that person from their guns. And that's a very high stakes kind of event to happen. So we definitely have determined that we want to make sure that the sheriff's office and other law enforcement knows ahead of time that this might be coming so that they can make whatever planning decisions for their own safety are required. So that was the first thing that we learned, and we've made changes to make sure that if we even hear that an ERPO might be filed, the first call we make is to law enforcement to let them know that this could be coming down the pike. There's also, again, in my view, other avenues that might be more effective other than an ERPO. Obviously, there's mental health holds that have always been in place that we could do something like that if there's an allegation, and some other, obviously, search warrants if there's a crime that's being alleged to have committed. So we've talked to law enforcement and kind of suggested that ERPOs are not necessarily the best first way to go, but it is an option out there, obviously, under the law. So if someone were to want to do that, then that would be acceptable. ERPOs, there's two different ways to get an ERPO. So any family member can file for an ERPO. Certain mental health professionals can file for that, and law enforcement can. And there's a special after-hours provision that if there's an exigent circumstances, only law enforcement can file. And we've had to do one of those so far where there was an after-hours. So not as many of those. Law enforcement isn't necessarily reaching out to file those. It's typically so far been family members who've been attempting to get ERPOs.
Can you speak to any of the cases in general terms, like how it worked out or anything like that? I just think it'd be very interesting.
Our very first one, we got a very serious allegation that included allegations of sexual assault while a firearm was being held to someone's head. So obviously, in retrospect, it seemed more like a crime and probably should have just gone to law enforcement. But we had to deal with the allegations that came for us because it was filed, and that triggers our obligations. There was not necessarily all complete information provided on that petition for that ERPO, as we found out later. And it turned out that the firearm in question was an airsoft pistol, so not even truly a firearm. But thankfully, in that case, law enforcement had already been involved with that family, so they did have some background information before they went out to have to deal with that. But we have to take the allegations as they come to us. So we can't necessarily do full investigation. That's not the court's job. We have to just act on what comes before us.
Are ERPOs automatically granted, or is there some sort of process?
There is definitely a process involved. So what we have put into place is, as I said, if we know it's coming, we contact law enforcement. We do a check of the information to try to verify names, birth dates, addresses, that kind of stuff. We can't obviously investigate the allegations, but then it goes before the judge and they have to consider a specific standard as to whether or not that ERPO should be granted if there is really exigent circumstances and if there is really immediate harm that could occur.
Well, thank you for working so closely with the Sheriff's Department and for working through some of those difficult situations.
Happy to do so.
Josh?
Yeah, you had mentioned in your update, family division caseloads are up 20%. And I'm just thinking about maintaining service levels for our residents. as a part, is it a part of your strategic planning, future planning, to start to look at those numbers and say, hey, we may need to add another judge. We may need to add more support services down the road. You're smiling already, so I'm going to turn it over to you. But I thought that question needed to be asked.
So we don't necessarily make the determination as to when a new judge should be put in. That's something that the State Court Administrative Office, they do various time studies, and they issue what's called a Judicial Resources Report. And we know one is forthcoming. So that's why I was smiling, because we're expecting information at any time regarding that. I certainly, and in that Judicial Resources recommendation, it will either be a, yes, you have enough judges, no, you don't have enough and you need this many more judges, or your caseload has reduced and you might be out a judge. So it could be any of those. I can definitely tell you we're not going to be out a judge. It will either be the same or moving forward with more. And if they were to recommend a new judgeship, which we just got one in 2023, Judge Krause was a brand new seat, it would then come to this board. We would ask you for your support of adding a new judge, as well as it would then have to be legislation in the state, the House and the Senate to go past to add a new judge. So it's a lengthy process. We're not just going to say, hey, let's throw a new robe on somebody off the street. So it would at least be a couple years before anything could change.
Not off the street. I think anyway, I joke about the elections in Mexico that just took place for judges. With the probate, you mentioned that court has 15,000 open cases. So I'm just hearing 15,000 open cases, 20% increase, and I just want to make sure that our citizens have the services that they need. So whatever we can do to help, please,
Appreciate that.
please let us know.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I got one more. I'm just curious, you mentioned that if you over deliver on services, then some of the juvenile delinquency cases, that some of those individuals might reoffend. Do you have any intuition on why that might be?
Well, generally, I don't have any specifics right now, but we don't want to generally teach juveniles to be better criminals. So we don't want them to feel like that we are re-traumatizing them either. So we have to, kind of think very carefully about the services that we provide. We do have a doctor, Dr. Jody Peterson, who reviews our various therapeutic programs and helps us determine through our risk needs assessment which are the correct programs to help any given individual or family.
Okay, thank you.
Well, thank you very much. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you again.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just want to interrupt really quickly, and my apologies, because the last vote that we took, the Crockery Lake Legal Costs 08-787, there was no motion or support. And so on the recommendation of Mr. Bolsche, I think we would like to revisit that with a motion, support, and roll call.
Okay, we need a motion in support of the Crockery Lake Contract 08-787.
I'll make the motion.
Support. All right.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Just
Let's
vote
do a
again
quick
for
roll
you.
call.
That's all we need? That takes care of it?
No, we need to vote.
We need to
Okay,
vote again.
Right, Mrs. Wenzel,
No.
Mr. Moss,
No.
Mr. Zylstra,
Oh, he left.
Mr. Kyers,
Yes.
Mrs. Rohde,
No.
Mrs. Miedema,
No.
Mr. Joritsma,
Yes.
Mr. Bruger,
Yes.
Mr. Bonema,
Yes.
Yes.
and Mr. Teeples.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thing on the agenda is the second public comment period. Anyone like to address, feel free to come forward.
I am Michael Kuras. I live in Spring Lake Township. I will address item 11 on your agenda. 2 weeks ago, after you had conducted a nearly 2-hour interview of Colonel Tremblay for the position of county administrator, you decided to kick the can down the road to at least today. Months ago, you set in motion a process to select a new county administrator. Colonel Tremblay was one of an initial pool of 39 candidates who emerged for that position. You winnowed that initial pool down to roughly half that number, And then you wintered it down further to just 5 candidates. And then in a matter of days, that candidate pool was reduced to just 1 candidate, whom you then interviewed, Colonel Michael Tremblay. He proved to be a truly impressive candidate. Yes, under close and intense scrutiny, several potential flaws emerged. Colonel Tremblay may not be the perfect candidate for the job of Ottawa County's next administrator, but please do not let perfect, whatever that is, become the enemy of good enough. Today, you could consider a motion to appoint Colonel Tremblay as our next county administrator. If such a motion were to pass, we finally have a new and thoroughly vetted county administrator. But if that motion fails, then what? Among other things, it would say that a candidate like Colonel Tremblay is not good enough to be our next county administrator, and you will have set a threshold for any subsequent candidate extremely high, perhaps impossibly high. Or you could kick the can down the road yet again. But will Colonel Tremblay wait indefinitely while you continue searching for that perfect candidate? Remember, Colonel Tremblay is entertaining an array of attractive offers. And will other candidates ever emerge who exceed the threshold already set by Colonel Tremblay? Think about it. Do you really want perfect, whatever that is, to become the enemy of good enough in the search for our next county administrator? Thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Sheila Detloff, Holland Township. I also want to talk about the next discussion item that's up. And I don't want to discount anything that Michael Curris just said, because I think he made some very good points, but I do want to offer another perspective. I would say most people in the county, my guess is that they're unaware of everything that's going on with the administrator search. However, I would bet by now potential candidates are probably very aware of everything that's happened. The past few months have made it obvious that the Ottawa Impact Commissioners seem to be intent on continuing to cause chaos in the county in an attempt to further their partisan ideology. Because of that, it's becoming clearer and clearer to me that the search needs to address that elephant in the room. You need to be upfront with potential candidates so they know what they're getting into and aren't sideswiped by snarky comments during discussion. My personal conclusion is that you would be best served by promoting someone internally. Current employees who went through the debacle of the past 2 years are best qualified to deal with the administration of this county going forward, in my opinion. Perhaps internal people applied in the last round and were not in the top 5 recommended by Double Hall. I don't know. But I view a full understanding of the dynamics of this split board and the events of the past 2 years as a crucial skill for the next administrator. And that skill will most likely be found in someone internal. I urge you to encourage current employees to apply as you move forward. And then on another note, I just want to note it's June, so I want to wish you all happy Pride. Holland Pride is this Saturday at Collin Park. I'm going to be there holding down the fort at the Progressive Lakeshore table, and it would be great to see you there.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
Karen Obitz, Spring Lake. I didn't plan to speak, but when I looked up and saw Pam Curtis here today, I thought, I would like to bring to this board's attention a Bridge article that I read. It was published in May, and I'll send this all to you after this comment. So this is a comment in with respect to your agenda item with the correspondence on Senior Resources 2026 Annual Implementation Plan. So because Pam is a member I met while walking my neighborhood several years ago, I immediately recognized her name when she was cited in the Bridge article I just referenced, the title of which was, As Michigan Ages, Funding Gaps Widen for Senior Centers, Some Call for Change. And as you heard a bit about today from both Ms. Floria and Ms. Curtis, Senior Resources of West Michigan serves 3 West Michigan counties, ours among them, and it must coordinate services from a variety of local funding sources. Oceana is one of those counties. Its millage covers about 70% of the cost for its Council on Aging, which serves residents ages 60 and older. And Muskegon, the other of those 3 counties, passed its first millage in 2016 and renewed it just last year. But while some Ottawa County local communities have senior millages, other communities in this county do not, nor is there a county-wide millage. I'm not here to advocate for any particular funding, just want to point out that there are counties that do have millages. Pam Curtis, who is also president of US Aging, the national organization that represents area agencies on aging like Senior Resources, pointed out in the article interview that Michigan does more than many other states in bolstering federal funds with local millages, but added that, quote, certainly communities that wish to support seniors in a robust way should be able to do so, end quote. So perhaps as our population continues to age, and as the current federal administration continues to propose cuts to funding sources that support aging services, this board would do well to educate itself more about these funding issues and take advantage of the expertise and knowledge on those issues that residents like Pam Curtis could provide. And I will send that article after this meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anyone online, Justin?
We do have one online public comment. And that is Linda King. Linda, if you could unmute yourself, state your name and jurisdiction. You have 3 minutes.
Hi, Linda King, Talmadge Cheddar Township. Growing up, my folks had a couple of phrases that have served me well over a lifetime. The first, you worry about you. The second, you know better than that. And trust me, if that one came out, you'd already made a dumb choice and everyone in the room knew it. I can't make it through one of these meetings without both phrases ringing in my ears. Take today, for example. We've got the usual subgroup of commissioners grilling an acting representative from MSU Extension, an acting representative. Not about budget, not about programming, not about impact, but about DEI, because of course. And I'm sorry, but isn't it a little bizarre to hear Republicans up here trying to tell businesses and institutions how to operate? When did small government conservatives become the micromanagers of every HR policy and university department? This party used to stand for free markets and less government interference. Now it's picking through mission statements, demanding ideological purity, and using public meetings to wage a culture war that doesn't actually fix a single thing in this county. That question about DEI, like most that come out of this thankfully powerless contingent, had nothing to do with governance and everything to do with creating a soundbite. It's clear these meetings aren't about policy or planning for you four. They're theater. A place to rip meat from a convenient carcass and toss it to the base, to rile them up over whatever the buzzword of the week is. You want to talk about leadership? Leadership isn't constantly poking at institutions that serve us, the public. It isn't about turning every guest speaker into a punching bag for your political grievances. It's no wonder we can't find an administrator who wants to serve when you're being bombarded with stupidity. Leadership is knowing better and doing better. So maybe it's time to stop the performative nonsense, stop hijacking meetings with petty theatrics, and start governing like grown-ups. We all know better than this, and frankly, so do you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else? Okay, so we'll move on to our next item. It's a discussion item dealing with the administrative search, next steps. I'd like to tee this one up. I think it's important for the community to, which is why we're talking about this. This is the administrator, the new administrator is this board's top priority. There's no question about that. But there's no drama where we stand today. There is no urgency in where we stand today. Gary, Rosema, and Ron Franz have both expressed their willingness to stay on as we need them. They've done an incredible job over the last 6 months. They've garnered trust throughout this entire board, throughout this entire community. There is a tremendous sense of camaraderie and respect within the employee base of Ottawa County. A huge improvement, a total change of what it was 6 months ago. And the same holds true throughout the county, both within the business community and the community at large. We're hearing it time and time again. This is a wonderful place to live and work, and we've seen the results in the last 6 months. I've lost a lot of sleep over a lot of issues dealing with this county over the last 6 months. I've not lost a single moment of sleep over this issue. We have this under control. The fact that there's double haul there's been a separation of relations there, or that we haven't selected our candidates. We still have over 30 candidates, folks, that have expressed interest. And just in the last week, I've received several more, and there's more coming. There are a lot of people that want to be here as our administrator. We have nothing to worry about at this stage. If there was, I would tell you. So everybody take a collective breath again. We are just fine. This process will play out. It will work fine. We have nothing to worry about. And again, I would tell you, but like any business decision and any business plan, even your household plans, things change and you adjust as you need to adjust. We're adjusting. But these aren't inconsequent, these aren't that big, these aren't big changes that we can't adjust to. We're fully capable and we will. And I just want to set that record straight. We have no fear but ourselves here, guys, and there's no reason to fear, in my opinion. So with that, Joe, you want to say something and we'll eventually get over to Gary because we have ideas what we're going to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd just like to agree with what you said and remind people that it's not abnormal to go through multiple rounds in a search. One thing that we've talked about a lot over the last couple of years is process. And sometimes things require a process and you don't know exactly how long it's going to take. So if this takes a little bit longer to get to the right result, then that's completely fine with me. Also, thanks to Gary and Ron.
Where we stand, Gary, you want to?
Well, when I seen this on the agenda and talked to John and Josh and some of the rest of you, and I thought maybe it's time for me to say something. I've did a lot of listening. I've given a lot of my own opinions, and but I think it's important for this board to understand. And I've talked to some of you about how we get to an end, and it's going to take the whole group to come up with solutions. And how do we do that? We talk through things. I'm an avid believer in that. Like John had said, Ron and I are have other things to do, but this has kind of captured our lives now in the last 6 months. And we thought we were going in the right direction. We thought we were going to end up with a county administrator, but we didn't. I don't think it was time now to go into another interim. I don't think I don't think the community needs another interim. So I sat down with Ron and I said, what's it going to do to keep you here? And, so I'm going to try to cut back on his hours a little bit. But he's also going to get some other responsibilities as we move through what I consider, the final phase of this process. John had asked me to put some of my ideas down. I did that. I sent all the commissioners kind of some of my thoughts. I want to preface those thoughts that they're all fluid. They can all be moved around and adjusted. So don't take my opinions as, well, who is he to tell us what to do? I'd rather have you take them and build on them and see where we can get to from here. I think it's possible. Like the chair had said, we got other people contacting us. We got, people out there that are inquiring, asking questions, so I think we should take full advantage of that. I know all of a sudden summer's on us. I believe that people have more things to do than sit in this room every day of the week and try to resolve this. I think that would give us some additional time to put some things together, get past the summer months when employees and the commissioners and the candidates all have families, they all have things they want to do that they plan for. So I recommended to John, let's get to September, and by then, people are back to, sitting down and looking at a few things. And I think based on what I shared, I think there's some opportunities by mid-September to be sitting here and either the board or maybe a committee, has a slate of people they want to bring forward, and we just get it done. I mean, like everybody said, there's businesses that do this all across the county, all across the state. And I think there's no reason for this not to be successful. For whatever reasons, it hasn't been, but that's okay. I mean, we're not going to quit. We're going to continue to move forward and do the best we can for Ottawa County. I think everybody I've talked to on this board, I mean, that's what they want, the best for Ottawa County. And I think it's out there. I think the people or the individuals that really want to be here, I mean, they're thinking about it. And, it's just not a whim. So I think there's some ways to move forward. And, I think this maybe can use to be a catalyst to start some discussions. And again, I mean, we may not all be happy at the end of the day, but you know what? We're all going to be on the same page. And, we're willing to stick with it. I know Karen's willing to stick with it. And now we just need you all's commitment to stick with it. And, let's get it done together.
I appreciate you setting out your thoughts yesterday and laying out, what you see as a good process. I definitely have some feedback I want to give. I don't think that I need to necessarily do that right here and right now. So I appreciate that we can have an ongoing conversation about, that process and what might work best for all of us and for the county. So I'll just save some of my feedback. It's nothing major, but for later.
Nelson?
I also want to say thanks for sending your thoughts yesterday. That was really, I really appreciated that, before.
Afraid you were going to ask for them anyhow. So
You were afraid that what?
that you were going to ask for them anyhow.
Oh, so yeah, I really appreciated your thoughts. And I think as Commissioner Rhodey said, I have a few thoughts. I think it's important, I think, for our whole board to look backwards to some degree so that we can look forward. And I do agree that there's a lot of candidates that I believe want to work here, that both potentially in the pool that we're still there. And I think with some continued people that are continuing to look at us for maybe if we open that process back up. So I would just state, there was just one thing that I wondered. It's also a bit budget season during that time period, I believe. And I don't know if those dates have been determined yet. I know in the last couple of years, we had more meetings that we had scheduled during August and September. So that would be my only, that would be one of my things that I would want to just discuss and potentially lengthen the end of the public interview time to not go, it seems very quick in 1 week's time. So that might just be something that we could discuss as a board.
I'd just like to thank you, Chair Teeples, for your positive attitude and leading us through this. We get some negative comments sometimes from people and don't hear the positive. So I'd just like to remind the board and the people of Ottawa County that we do have individuals who are serving here that love to serve, whether it's Gary or Ron, who are doing this not because they have to, but because they want to. And because Ottawa County is an amazing place to live, work, and play, to raise a family. There's been numerous examples through this entire meeting. Even what Commissioner Bonema highlighted, where we do have an extremely fiscally conservative county who are very careful with resources. All the good news from Susan today in the courts. So just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that and say that I'm excited for moving forward and moving forward together.
Thank you, Joe. So some of the plans, so that public knows, I mean, Ron, I think is going to lead this be our point person on this, but we'll be reaching out to all the candidates that are on the double haul list, see if they're still interested in staying with us. And I suspect they will be. Plus all the new applications, people that have contacted me, I've got to forward those on to the administration to get them into the pool. But then I think, Gary, you were proposing that we open this up publicly toward the end of August.
Right.
And then we'll start the review process the 1st of September. So everybody should just go on their vacations. And we'll be in contact with everybody, right? And
Yeah, our interest is that we'll send all the candidates an email or a letter indicating, our path forward. And that we'll ask if they want to remain in the pool of active candidates. And if they do, just let us know. If they don't, then we'll remove them from that. And again, as we move forward, we're not going to necessarily, because of what Double Haul did, I mean, they aren't going to have to refile applications or anything. We have all that information. So anybody new that wants to make application, they can gladly do that. So.
Sounds good? Sounds good.
I just, one more compliment to Gary and Ron and our gratitude to the two of you for stepping up. If it were another day and time, I think I'd be certainly not the only one asking you gentlemen to stay on much longer, because you're doing a phenomenal job and we are very, very grateful. Thank you.
And again, I do have to thank Ron, because he kind of found out this morning that he was gonna, kind of head this thing up. And again, we're used to, because of our past, kind of doing stuff a little bit more secretly. And so we're getting accustomed to this position. And again, I think it's positive. That I would hate to say I don't want to stick through this and yet do it and complain about it, So we'll get there. I believe we will.
You've set a high bar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Doug.
Quick question. Yeah, just a couple of questions for the administrator. Two points that I really kind of been thinking about lately is, I think we have a great staff here in Ottawa County. I think we have a lot of department heads, who've done a great job. I would like our search to, I'm not sure double back is the right term, but, make sure that we are looking inside our own four walls for a potential administrator. I'm not sure what Double Haul had done to address that. And I just have to make sure that we're addressing that. And as the search goes forward, that, I think one of the public commenters mentioned that, we have staff who've been with us for a long time, and know the dynamics of this building and know the dynamics of this board. I'd definitely like to see, us keeping in mind their talents, right? And keeping in mind their potential with this organization, and not necessarily thinking that someone from, the nationwide search is the best answer, right? sometimes the best answer is, right next door and, want to make sure that we're thinking about that. The other thing, and I've talked about this with a few commissioners and, for me, I really appreciate Ron's, work with this board and, I'm not sure what, it seems like there was a discussion this morning that your time with us may be longer than you had thought, but, we do have two openings, right? One of them's for administrator, and one of them's for deputy. And I definitely, of the mind that we can and should be doing searches for both. And I just don't know what anyone's thoughts are on that. And, we have 2 months before we're reopening the administrator search and maybe the idea of, looking for a deputy prior to an administrator makes sense. It makes sense to me. We've had 2 searches that, haven't necessarily resulted in a candidate, and maybe the best step is to start with deputy and then work into an administrator. I think that, historically that's not been the case, but I think that, maybe having the deputy in place before we get the administrator may be a better option, so.
Well, one of the things is, as we've discussed it, both Ron and myself in our former careers always had a right-hand person. And that became extremely critical in running the organizations we did. Same kind of holds true with the county as a whole. When I was asked to consider this, I started thinking about, key people for the deputy position. And I realized I wanted, that person had to be somebody I trust and I knew and had feelings about the county as much as I do. We've had those discussions, Commissioner, and I think there's 2 ways to look at that. A new administrator, I would hope, would key in on the type of person that he wants in that number 2 position. We've done some things to look at the organizational structure and stuff within the administration of the county. So again, we've been looking at all those ideas. As far as current staff, I agree with you. The thing of it is, both W Talent and Double Hall, again, had conversations with department heads as they went through this process. They made the application process available to everybody. So, I think, you got to understand a little bit that nothing has been left out for the employees to consider this as part of their career path as well. And we'll continue to do that through this next process too.
Yeah, I know we're trying to wrap up, but just quickly, I just want to echo Doug, you are correct. We have, and for the staff listening, we have a lot of talent right here, and I'm very grateful for all of them, just as we all are, I'm sure. The only thing I wanted to say, it could be a she who is there you go. I noticed you said he, and I thought we ought to add he or she because.
I stand correct.
There you go. All right.
Also, I'd like to, Ron's been sitting back there being very quiet, which he normally is.
You haven't seen the faces he's making. Yeah.
He may have some excellent words of wisdom as well.
Ron, do you want to say anything?
The thing I would say is I took a day off. No more days off.
There you go.
Yeah, you guys are the best. All right, let's move on to the next thing. Gary, you have anything else you want to update us with?
Yes. I think here, Susan's still here. And Susan, you did an excellent presentation today, but you have your budget discussions yet this week. So I appreciate you getting all your support aligned up there.
Well played.
Meetings with Karen and myself. Just a quick reminder, July 1st at 10 o'clock a.m., we're going to have kind of a quasi groundbreaking next door at the new VA building. All the commissioners are invited, and I believe John and Jacob, you've been talked to maybe to say a few words over there, and you're going to get a chance to go in the site before it gets renovated. They got some pretty good ideas going on next door, and I think there's a real level of enthusiasm. And so again, if you can be there, I'd appreciate it, and so would Jason, I'm sure. June 26th at 3 o'clock, the Item Explorers Trail on Green Street takes in over Stearns Bayou is going to be dedicated. That trail actually connects the total of 26 miles of trailhead. So as always, it was done to perfection, and I think everybody's going to appreciate that connection right there at the bridge. This past month, representative from Senator Slotkin's office stopped by. We had an opportunity to talk to him, and he expressed some interest for them to get involved if Ottawa County needs anything, and said that they'd be more than happy to help out in whatever situations come up here. I spent some time, I was invited to the health department's all staff meeting at Howard Miller in Zeeland. We updated staff on the search, even though the search is going in a little different direction now. We talked about budget and the wage study, how the wage study was going to impact budget and how budget was going to probably impact the wage study. But again, we assured them that the Board of Commissioners will resolve all those things when the issues come in front of them. So Ottawa County Central Dispatch Policy Board met the other day. We hired a new director. Pete McWaters is retiring. We picked up another Kent County employee by the name of Matt Grosser. Matt was the emergency management director after Lou Hunt was brought on here, and so he retired, and now he's going to become our 911 director. We had a good meeting the other day with the Grand Haven City Manager to discuss parking issues in the city of Grand Haven. They're currently working, as many of you know, with a company that's going to build a new Marriott downtown, and they need some extra parking spots. So we're looking at the overall parking at the Grand Haven Courthouse, and we think that we might have been able to come up with some solutions for them. So we'll be working with the city manager in Grand Haven to try to resolve something for them. Friday, 9 o'clock in the morning, we have a meeting with our area legislatures. And once again, if you can't be there, any questions that you want to shoot off to Regina or so, just let us know. And budgets. Just to give you an idea, Karen's got me on a full appetite of budgets for this month. By the end of the month, we'll have dealt with Circuit Court Juvenile, Circuit Court FLC, Circuit Court Probate, Circuit Court Trial, Community Action, Public Health, the Sheriff, IT, DSI, District Court, HR, Prosecutor's Office, CMH, the Treasurer, Water Resources, the Clerk, and the Public Defender's Office. I don't think I covered them all, Karen, but we'll get the rest of them in July, I'm sure. And again, you know, I got to tell you, Karen and her staff I mean, they come prepared. You know, the department heads are coming prepared, and we're talking about, you know, some things that, you know, or making suggestions of things that they should look at in the future, you know, that I can share with the new administrator on getting prepared for next year's budget or the following year's budget already. Understanding that when we add new staff, it's important not just that the staff gets hired, but a lot of times they're put in the abyss of the department they go in, and they get lost in that process. So it's important for next year to come back during the budget process and say, this person made a difference because of. We listen to those interests and department head wants now to make a decision to move forward. But a lot of times we don't look at the position after it gets filled and the difference it makes. So that, along with all the mandated, non-mandated stuff, is going to create, you know, work for everybody next year. So again, it's been an active month, and once again, we'll get through it, but only with the great staff that we have as well.
Allison?
Great report. I really appreciated all the things that you shared, Gary. Do you know if any department in our county or the county as a whole does anything for new employees with partnering them up with a current staff member, such as a mentor?
The sheriff's department has, we've had mentoring type programs because of their field training programs. They get to know a senior officer, or three of them actually, through their whole field training. Corrections has the same thing. I don't know what each and every you know, department does. You know, we always thought there was value in retirees coming back, but again, the processes, I mean, again, people get on board and all of a sudden their plates start getting full, and yeah, it's just easy to focus on the work at hand versus how do you deal with that long term.
Yeah.
And I know HR's got different programs and stuff, that as people want to start advancing, that they can, you know, tie them into somebody from those agencies
Sure.
as well.
I just know from my past work, that was something that was very valuable to many staff members, of being partnered up, and it wasn't necessarily an extra money cost. It was people who were willing to come alongside of somebody else and kind of mentor them for a short time. So, yep.
So I have to correct you on one point, that veterans asked me, Jason asked me to say a few words at the ribbon cutting for veterans open house that's coming up. I've asked Commissioner Wenzel to stand in instead of me. She's on that committee. I think she deserves it more than I would ever, and can speak more fluently for the county than me. So she's graciously agreed to do that. As far as your budget, this is why you're in the position. It's amazing what you've accomplished in 6 months. The fact that you're at this stage in the budgets, and it's going so well. Everybody should also know that Gary's not only sticking around so we have a new administrator, but he's going to be leading us through this strategic planning process too, that we still intend to do. So that's still on the agenda for this board as well. So Doug?
Yeah, appreciate that. Can you just talk about the deputy HR position as well as the facilities position? Do we have any updates on those two?
Yeah, we're down to 2 final candidates in facilities.
Okay.
I think the HR director is pretty close to hiring a assistant director.
Okay. And you at liberty to say if that's internal or no?
I do not believe so.
In either of the two?
On the HR one.
Okay.
The facilities is also external.
They're all external, okay. And when should we have a final hire on those two?
Probably the facilities yet this week.
Okay.
HR, I'll have to check with Scott.
Okay.
I would think that's
sooner than later as well.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. All right, so now next thing is commissioner comments. Jordan, why don't you start if you have any comments to make? No?
No comments.
Allison?
I have two. So the first one is the Ottawa County Sheriff's Department is wrapping up this year's Citizen Police Academy this week, Thursday night. I highly recommend this annual 9-session program for any Ottawa County citizen or fellow commissioner that desires to better understand our law enforcement's important role in our community. To stay informed on what's offered, you can subscribe to receive updates from the Sheriff's Department from the county's website. Each session focused on a different aspect of the department, such as the drone team, the K-9 unit, the critical response team, investigative services and detective bureau, undercover narcotics, central dispatch, the Ottawa County Jail, criminal prosecution and the criminal justice system, traffic services, community policing and school resource officer programs, victim services and marine patrol and dive team operations, honor guard and patrol operations. Additionally, I just want to give a huge shout out to Sergeant McKellar for his role each week in leading and facilitating the class. I also appreciated his wife sharing about her perspective into family life of one employed in law enforcement. And probably my favorite experience was our personal ride-alongs with a deputy, which provided a small taste of what happens behind the scenes and only increased my level of respect for those working on our behalf. And it was such an honor to be able to congratulate some of them for special recognition earlier today with all of you. And then the other one I wanted to just mention was related to the White House State Leadership Conference. It was an incredible honor to receive an invite from the White House to attend that leadership conference this past Tuesday. It was an opportunity for Michigan elected officials to hear about the White House's priorities and also to converse with White House leadership about the issues affecting our state. Throughout the leadership conference, we had an opportunity to hear from and share and ask questions from various leaders working within the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. with Health and Human Services, Secretary Turner with Housing and Urban Development, Secretary McMahon with the Department of Education, Eric Bledsoe, Maxim Lott, and Scott Centurion with the Domestic Policy Council, Secretary Howard Lutnick with the Department of Commerce. This time was invaluable as not only did we hear details about President Trump's direction for our country, but the White House leadership team desired to field questions and gain insights from leaders present in the room about issues affecting our state. Secretary Scott Turner was particularly a passionate and motivational speaker to listen to. And some of the words he stated were, principle is important. Government negligence is a black hole and is the status quo. Don't settle for the status quo. Represent your people. Don't do business as usual. Rural communities deserve our attention. Put families on a new trajectory. Create generational wealth. Pull each other up and be willing to change position if need be. Have grit and faith. Dream again. I have been and will continue to provide more details, I think alongside of Commissioners Moss, Rhodey, and Wenzel regarding the White House Leadership Conference on our personal Facebook pages for Ottawa County Commissioner. And then I additionally have a blog at allisonmiedema.com for anyone who would like to continue following along. So I look forward to continuing to hopefully bringing some great things from DC and bringing it down to the local level. So thanks for letting me share.
Yeah, two things real quick. One, I just want to thank the chair for his leadership and calm demeanor as we wade through the process of the administrator search. This is something that I think, if done right, can lead to so many wonderful benefits for the future of Ottawa County and stability in places that we really are looking forward to seeing that. So I just want to thank you for your big picture attitude of making sure that we take our time to do it right. Sometimes you have to go slow to go fast, right? And I think that's what we're doing right now. Secondly, I just want to thank our Director of Veteran Services, Jason Schenkel, for inviting me to deliver remarks for the groundbreaking. I am proud that we have so many veterans that call Ottawa County home. Unfortunately, I have to be in New York City for a business conference on that date. I've asked Vice Chair Bruger to deliver my remarks, and he's graciously accepted to do that. So looking forward to that date for Ottawa County and for what's to come after that. And just as the cherry on top, having July being Veterans Month, not just this year, but in years to come, I think will build momentum around celebrating the service that so many have given to our country.
All right, I want to thank Gary and Ron for meeting with the City of Grand Haven officials and leadership to talk about parking. I know that it's always been a challenge in the City of Grand Haven, and I have, over the years, watched the county lot sit largely vacant during certain times, and certain portions of it have even been used for long-term boat parking and RV parking. So I think there's an opportunity there, and I'm glad you guys are looking into that. So thank you very much. And then on another note, an effort that has been happening a little bit in the public and a little bit behind the scenes, bipartisan effort to encourage Eagle to lift some dredging restrictions on the Grand Haven Inner Harbor. And in the future, as Eagle looks to put additional testing guidelines in for things like PFAS, it appeared that the Grand River was being used a little bit as a test subject that could affect loads of municipalities and communities around the state. And Congressman Huizenga, Congresswoman Hillary Skolton nationally weighed in and put a little bit of pressure on the governor's office, along with locally State Rep Van Workum and Luke Merman. Thank you to them. Roger Victory as well, and a number of other Ottawa County representatives and Muskegon representatives weighed in. And I'm happy to report that a meeting took place about 2 weeks ago, and Eagle agreed to allow dredging of Grand Haven's Inner Harbor. And this is huge, not just for the city of Grand Haven, but really for Ottawa County, because a lot of the aggregate that is used in our roads and a lot of the products that are used to maintain traffic flow in the winter, such as salt, are brought into the Grand Haven Harbor for plank stock. They also do the same thing in Lake Macatawa. And what it was looking like was that with Eagle not permitting us to dredge, that would mean that ships carrying in these loads would have to run lighter so that they did not carry as much weight and sink down as far. And what that translates into is more ships and more cost for those services for Ottawa County residents. So thank you very much to our state and federal representatives who reached out to help us in Ottawa County. Cannot thank them enough. And thank you to Eagle and the governor for listening and helping us get through this challenge. Then the last comment I have, I am really looking forward to, I believe it's Wednesday night. I'll be at Grand Valley is hosting Boys State this year, where they bring in young future legislators, future council members, future commissioners from throughout the state of Michigan to talk about how best to advocate on behalf of our constituents. And it's been an honor. I was invited to speak there last year and to lead a breakout session. And I'm really looking forward to it, because engaging in the lives of the individuals who are going to be our future, it just gets me excited. So I'm very excited to be headed that way. That's all I got.
Oh, yeah. Today, 3 o'clock, Grand Haven Township which my biggest part of my district in District 9 is going to do a grand opening for their fire station. They spent a lot of hard work. It's a beautiful fire station. So if you got time, and matter of fact, Sweet Temptations is going to be there. So that's a plus, right?
Ice cream?
Free ice cream.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, so that's a really big happening in my area. So that's about all I got.
I attended a couple of meetings in the past couple of weeks. I just want to make mention of on June 17th, there was a housing supply update meeting that was actually held here in this building. Ryan Kilpatrick is a consultant to Housing Next, spoke at that. It was really very interesting. Talked about affordability, and there's always a need for affordable housing on the low end, of course. But we're in a pinch point where households where someone is perhaps a teacher or a police officer is getting priced out of the housing market here in Ottawa County. I believe median price for a home in Ottawa County now is over $400,000. And they measure this by 30% of your income going towards housing. Under 30% is affordable. And you get above that and something's got to give. So it was really interesting. One of the solutions that he talked an awful lot about was just if we could get zoning reform, which would allow for smaller lots, maybe duplexes in certain areas. Those are some simple fixes where it's not government intervention, spending money, but just kind of rethinking how we're doing that. Then last week, I attended a meeting of the West Michigan Regional Planning Commission in Ionia. And during the roundtable discussion, it's clear every municipal unit that's been represented at this, every municipal unit that was at the NACO conference, everybody's talking about housing. It's a problem every place. And at the meeting last Friday, there was a lot of discussion of how municipal units are using brownfield redevelopment authority as a tool to try to address some of that. So housing is a widespread issue, and it's got the attention of a lot of folks. And I was glad I was able to attend those meetings, and I think I gained from that.
Along with Allison, she already talked about a lot of what I had written down, so I'll shorten mine. I was honored to be personally invited by the White House to attend the State Leadership Conference in DC. I was really thankful that they were centering on strengthening collaboration between the federal and local governments with an emphasis on supporting local leadership. It was a wealth of information. I was grateful to participate in that. And I look forward to kind of watching it all come to fruition and to see what happens moving forward.
I have a couple things. One, CMH has been dealing with some fairly complex issues in relation to funding and potential system changes. So I'm just thankful for the work that Dr. Bashirs has been putting in on that, but also some of the work that the administration and leadership here has been putting in. I'm thankful that we're seeking clarity on some issues that I think are important to get figured out. So that has been going on, and Dr. Bashirs does do a fair amount of informational videos. So just want the public to be aware that those resources are available on YouTube. And then also, I also was honored to be invited to the White House State Leadership Conference for Michigan. Really impressed by the quality of the leadership in the secretaries of the president's cabinet and their really big hearts for the American people. I think that really shone through. I agree. I really loved the Secretary of HUD. He's amazing. And his heart for our families and for our people. I was really thankful to have some exchanges and be able to advocate for unimportant issues, particularly with Secretary Kennedy and Secretary McMahon. So very thankful for the connections and the relationships that we are building on the federal level and for the long-term impact and hopefully the resources that helps here on the local level. So that's all.
Yeah, I'll keep mine brief. Just one comment on the State Leadership Conference. So it is very good for Ottawa County, and it's good to coordinate local, state, and federal. So that's very positive, both for now and in the future. Major topics, some of them have already been mentioned, but I would reiterate that kind of heart for America and the American people is very obvious as people were speaking. It is obvious there has been kind of a mandate delivered from the top that secretaries, White House staff, everybody in the administration will take action. And they spoke about that frequently on behalf of citizens. So no business as usual, no status quo, get out there and do the hard work. One of my favorite discussions was on, they brought in the guy from DPC who's responsible for abolishing DEI in the federal government. Really enjoyed all the examples that he shared and some of the absolute sheer insanity that the Biden administration had been injecting into the government. The slides were just the worst of the worst, just crazy. So it's good to see common sense coming back into the administration. And last but not least, the focus truly is as we go to these events or others, or as Phil goes to events with MAC or other groups, it is to advocate for policies that support and build Ottawa County, whether it's farmers or anybody else. So this time it was a little more federally focused on making America great again, making America healthy again, but it is very good for Ottawa County.
Thank you. So I have no other comments. So with that, this meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.